So tonight we want to continue with our SEC previews with the University of Alabama. In my opinion, this team has the highest floor of all the teams in the SEC. When you look, they have an 89% blue chip ratio. That leads the country with Ohio State. Traditionally, if you have a 50% blue chip ratio, those teams have the best chance to win the national championship. They also bring back 65% of their production, 69% of that being on defense. When you look at their defense, their secondary is as good as anybody in the country, and some people rate their secondary as the best in the country. Last year, they finished with 17 interceptions, which was second in the SEC. Their secondary is led by Domani Jackson at cornerback, Keon Sabb at safety, and in my opinion, their breakout player this year could be Bray Hubbard, who's the other safety that they have. He started the second half of the season last year when Sabb went down. In high school, he ran a 10-4-100, and last year he performed really well when he played. So I think you'll see him be the leader in the secondary. When you move there and you go to linebacker, they return two linebackers that had a lot of production last year. Deontay Lawson was a starter. He did injure his knee last year, though. He is expected to start at the beginning of the season, but Nakai Hill Green was added from Colorado to be kind of a backup plan there in case Lawson is not ready to go from the first game. Justin Jefferson will be the second inside linebacker as a starter. He was kind of the third linebacker last year, and he's a really good athlete, and I think you'll see him perform really well. He's a little undersized, but he has outstanding talent and great speed. From there, you move to their defensive line, which has a lot of experience. But in my opinion, it would be they're just the average part of their defense. Now, average is probably not the right fair word, but they're solid players on the defensive line, but they're not guys that would be NFL starters. You have Tim Keenan, who's got a lot of experience over the years, and James Smith, who probably has the most upside, and actually he could be an NFL starter someday. He's a sophomore. And on the edges, you have Kai Russell and LT Overton. So last year, sack wise, when you're talking about these front four and the edge guys and Russell and Overton, sack wise, they had 25 sacks. It was the fewest sacks they had since 2013. So to me, this is where you can move the ball consistently on them a little bit on the ground and where you can make your hay. You can't throw the ball all day on this Bama team where that experienced secondary will get turnovers on you. They only averaged giving up 17 points a game last year. So again, I think you'll see that as the strength again this year. They won't give up a lot of points. So you're going to have to take advantage of your opportunities when you get good field position.
I agree with you a lot on the defensive side of the ball. LT Overton's a kid that we both know well from here in out of Milton, Georgia. He's somebody who I thought would have done a lot more at this point in his career. He transferred in from Texas A&M, and if you remember, he left a year early from high school. He reclassified, so he should actually only be a junior. But he went ahead and reclassified, jumped in on the NIL bonanza that A&M handed out that year, and took advantage of that, and then went to a real team in Alabama. I think that he's going to be. I think that he's going to have a good season this year. I'm hearing good things about him. He's in shape, and he knows that this is his draft year, so he's ready to go. At linebacker, I'm hesitant. If they're healthy, they're going to be great. And their DBs are always, especially under Saban now, in their second year away from Saban. We'll see if there's any drop off there. And losing Kool-Aid McKinstry was obviously a big loss there as well. Hopefully, Bama fans and for everybody in that program, they're able to stay healthy and turn that talent to gold. The one thing that they do miss though is a true leader. Who in your opinion, Kevin, is that breakout guy, that top 5 or 10 pick that Alabama always seems to have on defense every year? Who's going to be that guy this year?
They're going to hope it's Deontay Lawson. He played last year. He started last year. He's a solid player. But to your point, does he see? I see Alabama as a team that has a lot of really good players, but do they have elite players? You mentioned LT Overton. He could be the leader. He had a lot of pressures last year, but he didn't get all the way to the quarterback and get sacks. Bray Hubbard, who I mentioned, I think also has the potential to be that guy, take the spot that Caleb Downs left 2 years ago when he left. Safety wise, they were solid last year, but do they have players that can be outstanding and take over games on the defensive side of the ball with their leadership and just be dominant. That's the part I question. I think they're going to be solid defensively, one of the best two or three defenses in the SEC. But I think you'll be able to move the ball on, which a lot of teams were able to do last year. They
What
did
do you
again. They go ahead.
what do you think about them offensively? What do you see happening for them on that side of the ball?
So offensively, they got a lot of talent on offense. Returned 62% of their production on offense. Obviously, lost Jalen Milrow. They're very high on their receiver room. Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, the transfer from Miami. Williams has elite potential. Bernard's a solid guy, had 800 yards receiving last year. Transferred from Washington 2 years ago. So that wide receiver room is their best room on their offense, in my opinion. Some are high on their offensive line. I think they're a good run blocking offensive line. I think the question still remains: can they be a good pass blocking offensive line? And I think as Milrow was not a fan favorite last year and struggled at times, but I think his capability also saved a lot of sacks. You have Caden Proctor, who's a solid left tackle. Really, I think he projects in the NFL to be more of a right tackle. He's currently weighing 360. He just checked in this week. I don't know if he's going to give you that elite foot speed at left tackle to protect a quarterback's blind side that doesn't have great movement. And then on the right tackle side of their offensive line, Wilkins Formby. Last year he struggled. He didn't start. He was beat out. The starter transferred out, and so now they're penciling him in to start at right tackle. And so I think the tackle spot and the pass protection is the big question mark they have on the offensive line. Brailsworth, the center, and Jaden Roberts, Parker Brailsworth and Jaden Roberts, the guard. They provide a lot of depth inside. I think they're going to be good inside. Brailsworth is a little undersized at center, but he's really good at reading defenses and getting them in the right sets. And then Cam Dewberry, I think, is likely your other starter at guard. He transferred for Texas A&M. So I think they're solid in the interior, but I think there's question marks at offensive tackle. That takes us to running back. I think they have a solid room of running backs. Jam Miller, very consistent, not a big home run threat, but he's good out of the backfield to catch the ball. And he's going to get 800 yards rushing. Richard Young is another guy that I think will contribute this year. I think we'll see him step up. And then Kylan Deere, who was the second rated running back out of high school. He's the one that would provide their home run threat. The big question mark is Ty Simpson. Everybody talks about that Milrow was the reason last year that they didn't go to the playoffs. And he certainly had some bad games against Oklahoma and Tennessee and Vanderbilt, even though the second half he played much better at Vanderbilt. But at Oklahoma, he was really bad. And at Tennessee in the second half, his performance was absent. All that being said, if he was the reason that they didn't make the playoffs and Ty Simpson is the answer, why wasn't he the answer to come into those games or play more last year?
I
If you look, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you look at Ty Simpson in his career, he's a 56% completion guy. To me, that's just average in today's football. To me, he's got a lot of upside with a great arm, but can he stand in the pocket? Can he take the heat? Can he play on the road? 2 years ago against South Florida, had a really poor performance against them on the road. Those are the things that I question. And I don't think that they're confident in the answers yet either. They set out a spring he would be the starter, but just this week, DeBoer said that competition is still open. And you could have the chance of Keelan Russell, the freshman, playing there some too. We all know the freshman in the SEC. Russell's talented. He's great potential, but starting a true freshman in the SEC is not where you want to be week one with the SEC and schedule it that you play. So I think Simpson will be the starter, but to me, he's a question mark. And can he put 30 points, lead that offense to average 30 points a game? I don't know.
What do you think record wise Alabama ends up? I look at them overall, and I'm with you. I totally agree that Simpson is the wild card here. I think if Simpson is able to be formidable, throw for 3,200 yards, keep his interceptions under 15 or so, and move the ball around with a weapon like Ryan Williams, team in the country would love to have a kid like that at wide out. I think that if he can do his job effectively, I think Bama's in the hunt for another playoff spot. Jam Miller is kind of a wild card for me too. I mean, this is his first year at being the guy, and as a senior, and I'm thinking, I want to see how effective he is out of there too. I agree with you; he's not a home run threat, but he has been consistent when he's been given chances.
I look at their schedule, and I think their schedule is very manageable. You start out with Florida State on the road. Now, that's a tough game, and you've got Simpson in that environment at Florida State. That being said, Florida State's not like they were 2 years ago and 3 years ago. So that's a winnable game. You get that one under your belt, and you play UNL or University of Louisiana Monroe. That's a win at home. Wisconsin at home should be another win. Then you go on to Georgia week 4. And I know Bama's had Georgia's number, and there's just some mystique, even last year after Saban left, that Bama mystique over Georgia was still there. This year, though, I just think that going on the road in a loud environment, I don't think they get that one. I think Georgia beats Bama this year. Georgia has a lot of good players, and I think this Georgia game will mean a lot to the University of Georgia. So I think Bama probably drops that one. From there, I think they go on another stretch where they pick up some wins. Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee at home. I think they win all three of those games. And then they go on the road to South Carolina. And to me, that's kind of the game that are you going to make the playoffs or not if you're Alabama? It's a game they should win, but it's going to be a night game at South Carolina. And South Carolina has a good crowd, and they've got a solid team that can upset, a Bama team that really they should have beaten last year in Tuscaloosa. So I think if I was going to say what's the key game of the season for Bama, it's South Carolina. So I do think they eke that one out. Then they come home, they take a bye week and play LSU at home. I'll come back to that one. I'll save that because that I think could be their second loss. But we see them play Oklahoma and Eastern Illinois after that. Oklahoma's at home. They get revenge against Oklahoma at home. They win that game, beat us Eastern Illinois, and then they play Auburn on the road. I'll go back and mention that LSU game now. So that LSU game is going to be the game decides whether they make the playoffs or not. Right now, I've got them losing one game, and LSU is going to bring probably the best offense in the SEC into that game with a much improved defense that'll be able to rush the passer with Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Gabe Relaford, those guys that they have at edge this year, with Perkins being a versatile player that they're going to bring him a lot. So again, the matchup there is can Bama's tackles keep these edge guys off of them enough to get into the high 20s to win that game, because you're not going to beat LSU in a 20-17 game this year, where their offense is just going to be too good at wide receiver with Nuss at quarterback and what they return. So I'm going to go on the record here and say that LSU is their second loss in a tight game in Tuscaloosa. We say LSU probably beat them 31 to something like that. So that gives them two losses, in my opinion. They're 9-2 when they wrap up the year against Auburn at Auburn. Traditionally, in that series, when they play at Auburn, anything can happen, and you see a lot of crazy skeletons. It's like a graveyard that comes alive at night. 2 years ago, when they played there, an Auburn team that had no business winning that game took them down to the last play, where Jalen Milroe threw a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to get them out of there with a win. So with what Auburn has this year, I think Auburn has a much better team,
Kev,
manageable. So if they can get one of those three games, they go 10-2, and they're in the playoffs. What about you?
I I am not as high on Auburn as you. We've had this discussion recently. I just, I am not sold on the good Reverend Hugh Freeze and what he's got cooking over there in Auburn. The natives are restless. I'm going to tell you what, they are not happy as their class is ranked somewhere like they're a AAC team or something like that. He's playing a lot of golf. One of their fans pointed out that they went in and looked at his GIN, which is his handicap index, and that he had played golf 10 out of the past 20 days as of a couple weeks ago. When your class is somewhere, I think they said it was in the 60s at the time, as a head coach of an SEC football team, especially a pressure cooker like Auburn, you can't be golfing 10 out of 20 days. That's way too much. And I'm sure that Yellowwood and those boys are not going to be happy with him.
Well, the Reverend Freeze is definitely a question mark. He always loses a couple games he shouldn't. But the one thing that he does find a way to beat Bama or play them really close. So, hey, I respect where you're coming from. Bama can certainly win that game, but I think this is one that Auburn gets this year.
I'm here
Question is,
for it.
can it, question the question here is, can a 9-3 Bama team get in the playoffs?
It's there are a lot of variables there. It's going to depend on what everybody else around them does. That I think there may be one, possibly two, three lost teams that get into the playoff, but and if one of them is, certainly the SEC teams will garner favor there with with the strength of the conference and whatnot. But I don't know at 9-3 if they get in. 10-2 is a lock. I'm with you. I have Bama on that 9-3, 10-2 cusp there. If things don't go well, perhaps 7-5, 8-4. I don't see them running the table. I just don't think that Simpson and the overall talent you had mentioned, they had what was it you said, 8% score, something like that, which is
Blue chip ratio?
yeah, blues chip ratio tops in the nation. But they don't, they outside of Ryan Williams on offense, they just don't have that breadth of superstars that they normally have every year. Usually, Bama, you can pencil them in for two or three guys getting drafted offensively in the first round. This year, as I look at their starters on offense, I don't know that I see a first rounder there this year. Now, next year, come back, talk to me. Ryan Williams is going to be a first round pick, in my opinion. Perhaps Proctor, if he loses some weight and gets into a little better shape and can stay healthy. But other than that, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you on their talent. I think again they have a lot of good talent, but they don't have that team that's going to have two, three, four first round draft picks, followed up by another two or three in the second round. I think the elite talent is where the difference is this year versus the Bama teams when Saban was really rolling there. Ryan Williams is their elite talent. I do think Bray Hubbard at safety, I know I've mentioned him a couple times, can be that elite talent. Most publications rate their secondary in the top five in the country. They got a lot of experience. They got Mincy, who started at cornerback last year, Damani Jackson. But neither one of those guys, to me, are again those top line cornerbacks, first round draft pick types that Saban had. They're both good. I've seen them second, third round draft pick types. And that's the way I look at this Bama team. That's why I think they're going to end up with three losses. One thing I didn't mention that I want to mention too, if you go back to Kalen DeBoer historically, great coach, wins a lot of games. Can't take that away from him. But even if you look at him at Washington, he struggled on the road some. He won games, but they didn't. The performance at home versus the performance on the road was very different. And again, we saw that last year with games they lost at Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt, in some games that they played down in. So that to me, along with Simpson, is that big question mark. Can they go on the road and can they avoid those games where they just play a stinker? There's no reason that Bama should have lost to Oklahoma last year. That game, Oklahoma was an average team, 500, had a lot of holes. How I still don't know how they were able to escape and beat Bama last year. And part of that was because Bama just played a bad. They played terrible. They let Arnold run the ball all over them, and they didn't do anything offensively. So that's my question mark. Can DeBoer have a running game or something that when you go on the road, the SEC's tough on the road. When you're struggling, can he have a running game like Saban did to say, okay, I need a couple of series to calm the fans down. I need to establish the team. I need to get some rhythm offensively. Can he do that? That to me and Simpson are the question marks. That's why I think they end up 9-3.
I was just saying, ready to talk about Auburn football. I know you're high on them this year. We've discussed that a lot over the summer. They're always, you never know what to expect from the Flames. You never know what to expect. What do you got for them this year?